What's up everybody, welcome back. So in this video I want to have a look at updating our animations a little bit, and I want to make some improvements to our graphs. So the main things that we are going to change, we're going to make sure our AimOffset will actually use our entire body. So if I look at the character from the outside right now, the legs are actually frozen in place and only the upper body rotates. So we're going to fix that, and we're going to make sure the AimOffset will also apply to the legs. And we're going to make sure that the left hand will align with the gun a little bit better. So especially if we are in the hipfire position, the left hand is off. In ADS it's a little bit better, but it's still not fully there. So we're going to make sure it aligns a little bit better. And besides that, we're going to clean up some graphs. So it should be fun. So we got an error for the HUD, but that's because we launch in the editor mode, so there's nothing to worry about there. So let's start with the animation blueprint. I want to make some changes in the animation graph first. Like I mentioned, for the AimOffset, we want to make sure that we apply it after the layered blend per bone, so that it will also blend in on the legs. So we're going to disconnect some of this stuff. And we're going to move it out of the way, so we can actually just apply the AimOffset with the walking animation there, because the AimOffset is an additive animation, and when we are moving we only use the pitch, and the legs hardly move in the AimOffset animations, so that should be no issue. So we can plug the layered blend per bone into the base pose of the AimOffset, and then we can actually move the boom for the ADS branch in front of our layered blend per bone, because the only difference here is the base animation that we are using. So if we plug the hipfire into the false pose and the true pose is using the ADS one, and we can plug this into the upper body blend pin over here, then we should be good to go. So we connect this back up to the output pose and we can get rid of this part. And now we should have a working AimOffset for the legs as well. So let's dive into game and let's check it out. So let me increase this a little bit. And let's see. So right now if I'm turning, you can see it's actually shifting his weight on his legs a little bit, so it looks a little bit better. And when I'm walking, it still looks good, so there's nothing going on over here. The only problem is that I still have my rotation rate set very low, so when I'm moving my character isn't really rotating. So let me fix that quickly. So you probably want to bump this up to something around 270 or maybe 180. That should work a whole lot better. So we have the animation graph updated. There's one thing I want to change over here. I'm going to get rid of this isAds variable, and I'm going to select the blend poses. And then over here I can simply bind it to the character. So I can select the character and then select my isAds variable from here. So there's no real need to store it on the animation blueprint anymore. So if we go back into the event graph, we can get rid of this setter as well and simply plug it in like this. And then over here we can delete the entire variable, and then that should be good to go. So now we have the variable directly plugged in from the character. So we updated the animation blueprint. Now I want to have a look at event tick in our character. So we have quite a lot going on in our event tick right now, and we probably don't want that. So we're going to get rid of as much as we can. And first of all, in begin play over here, we check if the player is locally controlled, and if it's not, we're going to disable event tick. So we don't really need to check this here anymore, because it's only running on the local player anyway. So we're going to get rid of that, and then we're going to drag event tick to a new location, because we're going to change a lot in here. So first of all, we're accessing our movement component on every tick to check our desired controller rotation. And if we don't need to do that, then we probably don't want to do that. So we're going to change that. So first of all, I'm going to create a new boolean in here that's called isMoving. So it's already in here. I created it. So created isMoving a boolean. And then we're also going to create a new custom event, and that's called updateMoveState. And the event is going to have one input, and that's called isMovingThisFrame. So like this. Then first of all, in our event tick, we're going to call the updateMoveState event and plug in the outcome of our getVelocity stuff that we got going on over here. So we're simply checking if our velocity is greater than 0 or not, and that will determine if we are moving. So then we're going to check this. So compare it. If it's not equal to what's stored in our boolean, then we're going to update our move state, and then we need to change our use controller desired rotation. And if this is the same, then we don't need to do anything except update our isMoving boolean. So we're going to add a branch in here, plug the outcome in the condition. If it's false, then we're simply going to set the isMoving boolean to the new information from this frame. And we also want to do that if it's true, by the way. So let's plug it in over here, and you want to do that first. And then we're going to check if we are the server or not. So it has authority. There we are. And then we can grab some of this stuff. So we don't need the booleans, the branches, we just need the setters over here. So copy and paste them. And plug the authority over here and the server in over here. And then we can simply use the outcome of the isMoving boolean to plug in the result over here. So we don't need to actually make a separate branch for that as well. And now all we need to do is make sure that we plug in our character movement component. And for the other one as well. And that should be good to go. So now it will only access our character movement component if the move state actually changes. So that's a bit more efficient. And then the next thing we are going to do is create two more variables for the aim rotation. So aim rotation, those are going to be rotators. And then create a new one, and that's called new aim rotation. So the first one is going to be replicated. And then all we are going to do is grab our base aim rotation from here. And we want to check if we are authority. So let's grab a has authority node and plug it in over here. No, let's first save our base aim rotation in our new aim rotation. I'm sorry. So grab a setter and plug it in over here, and then we are going to check if we are the server. And if we are the server, we can simply set our replicated aim rotation to the new value. And if we are a client, we need a replicated event. So we're going to create a custom event. And that's called server set aim rotation. So we need to replicate this to run on the server, and then we're going to drag in our aim rotation and make sure that we plug in the variable. We can call it for the clients over here. So server set aim rotation, and then we're going to set it locally for the client as well. So make sure you plug these in for both. And then we should be good to go for our event tick, and we can get rid of all the other stuff. So we don't need our server set yaw offset. We do need the use desired rotation, so we need to keep this one. And then we can get rid of all the other stuff. There we go. And we also don't need our yaw offset. No. So That's because they are in our animation blueprint. So we can get rid of those because we're going to change that as well. So we're left with only our aim rotation and our new aim rotation and the is moving boolean. And we cleaned up our event tick pretty good. So something is wrong here. We need to update this node. And then we can plug this back in. And that's good to go. So now all we need to do is update the event graph in our animation blueprint to make everything work again. So let's open up our animation blueprint. We need to update our event graph because we got rid of a few variables and we're going to set it up a little bit differently. So let's drag a little bit to the left over here to create some room. And first of all, we're going to get our aim rotation variable from our character. So let's drag off the character and get our aim rotation. So you want to get the replicated variable. So let me get rid of the debug quickly. There we go. So we're going to promote this to a variable on our animation blueprint. So that's our aim rotation. And we're going to plug that in right over here. So then we can keep the speed, that's fine. So we can plug this in over here. So over here we are adjusting our pitch value to make sure that it matches the information that we need in our AimOffset. And there's actually a function for that. So we can get rid of a lot of this stuff and we only need one setter for the pitch. And then we're going to drag off the pitch from our base aim rotation, but we actually have that stored in our aim rotation from the character. So we're going to get rid of this base aim rotation over here and drag in the aim rotation variable. So split the struct pin because we only need the pitch, and then from the pitch we're going to drag off and say normalize axis and select this one, and this will clamp it to an axis range of minus 180 to 180. So that will fix the angles being off to feed the aim offset. So we have that nicely cleaned up as well. Now for the direction we can keep it the way it was, that's fine. Although we do need to make sure that we plug in our aim rotation here as well. So drag it in, split the struct pin, and this time plug in the yaw over here. And then we can make sure that we grab the yaw and the turn animation yaw variables simply from the stored rotations as well. So let's create a new variable for the turn animation yaw. Turn anim yaw. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to grab our aim rotation. We're going to drag off our character and get the actor rotation. From here we're going to get the delta rotator, so the difference between those rotators. Plug in the actor rotation in pin B. We can split this. And then we can store this Z value into the turn animation yaw. So that's the unclamped value that we were using before. And then for the actual yaw for the aim offset, I'm going to add an interpolation to smooth things out a little bit. So first I'm going to grab the yaw that's from my previous frame. And I'm going to interp to. So you want to f interp to a float. And we're going to interp to the clamped range. So we're going to drag off the turn animation yaw and we're going to clamp the angle. And again, this is clamped from minus 60 to 60 to make sure our upper body doesn't overstretch. So plug this into the target for the interpolation. For the delta time, we can get it off the actual update animation event over here. And for the interp speed, you want to bump this up to something like 15 or 20 maybe, and then plug this into the yaw. So this will smooth things out a little bit. And then I think we don't need to update anything else. We plugged in our new value over here, so that's good to go. And we can get rid of this part over here. So we actually cleaned up the animation blueprint as well, and this should all work. So let's just double check. Let me increase this window a little bit. So we still have an aim offset, we still have turning animations, we can look up and down, that's working, we can walk around and aim while we are walking, so that's good. And it also replicates for the server, so that's all looking good. So we are good to go for that. The only thing left is to make sure our left hand will stick to the gun a little bit better. So the Lyra skeleton actually has a virtual bone that we can use to align the left hand to our gun, so this shouldn't be too hard. If we go to the animation graph, we can disconnect the output pose, and the first thing we need is a copy bone node. So select the top one over here and we can plug it in first. So with the node selected, we want to make sure that we set the source bone to the virtual bone that's in the skeleton, so that's VBIK hand left in weapon space. And then the target bone is going to be our IK hand left bone. That's all the way down in the list over here, IK hand left. And we want to copy the translation and the rotation. So what this node does, it will align the IK hand left bone with the virtual bone. And then we need to get a 2-bone IK node. So the top one again, and we want to set it up so it will align our left hand with our IK hand left bone again, and that should make the hand match up a little bit better. So let's plug this in first. So with the 2-bone IK node selected, for the IK bone we want to set it to the hand left bone, and then for the effector target over here we want to set it to bone space, and then we can select the bone, and that should be our IK hand left bone. And you want to enable the take rotation from effector space, so make sure you tick this little box over here. Then for the joint target, again you want to set it to bone space, and the target is going to be the lower arm left. And then that should work. So if we compile, you can actually see the hand moving into place a little bit. And this should keep the hand aligned. So if we check this out in game, so let me move towards the camera a little bit. So if I'm aiming up and down, you can see the hand is actually sticking to the gun a whole lot better. There is some overstretching in our hipfire, because the aim offset actually is for ADS, and this pistol doesn't have a hipfire aim offset, so we're feeding a hipfire idle animation into our ADS aim offset, and that's causing a little bit of stretching and stuff like that. So you might want to consider get rid of the idle animations at once, or all of them. So I'm not talking idle, I'm talking hipfire animation, so you only have the ADS animations left. And those actually match up exactly as they should. If you aim up and down, there's hardly any stretching or things like that. So we got the left hand fixed as well. So one little side note, if you do not have any of these virtual bones in your skeleton, you can use a FABRIK node to kind of get the same effect. So if you right click and search for FABRIK and plug this in, then you can set it up so the left hand will stick to the right hand position. So let me see, we should set the effector target over here to be our hand left, hand right over here. And then we want to set the tip bone over here to the hand left bone, and you want to set the root bone to the upper arm left. And for the transform space, you want to set it to bone space. And now if you compile this, you can see the left hand snaps into position with the right hand, and then after that you can give it an offset so it will match up with the gun, and it will keep the offset relative to the right hand. So with this node you can kind of achieve the same effect if you do not have the virtual bones in place. So I think we have everything covered for this video. We did a little bit of improvements and a little bit of cleanup. In the next video, we're going to add some new stuff again. So thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye bye.